Outputting our coverage. It's what we do.
That's all we do every Thursday
At 5:30.
College football. College football.
Mountain West Conference.
Doesn't matter.
SEC
Is all that matters.
Nick Saban
Is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's all. Let's start the show.
Good evening, faithful Outputting Our Coverage listeners. David and I are back for another week. I have to say at this point I am numb to the losses, just dragging myself out of bed every morning, going to work, trying to survive.
It just messes with your whole day, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, you know, when your identity is tied so closely to a football team, it's just difficult to keep going on this way.
It's
But
difficult for them, too.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's tough for them. You know what? Let's start with good calls this week. We always start the show with good call and bad call. David, go ahead and give us your
Good call.
Well, my good call, unfortunately, I guess, is going to be Ole Miss over Auburn. Auburn, maybe a lot of people thought was going to turn around, make it a game, but that was not the case. Ole Miss dominated on the running game. Wasn't a whole lot they could do about it.
Yeah, kind of a broken record. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we get into the second segment, but honestly, at this point, there's not a lot of new information to report, more to the same. My good call for this week, I'll take the other Mississippi school, Mississippi State over Tennessee. If you recall, our very faithful listeners may remember that I flirted with the idea of picking Tennessee over Mississippi State last week, and boy, am I glad I didn't. They kept it pretty close, but Tennessee, they just keep shooting themselves in the foot.
They do. And they're a big play offense who just can't get enough.
Yeah.
You know, they're always one or two big plays away from actually winning a game.
But let's give a lot of credit to Mississippi State. I think they're a pretty good team. The defense is very solid, and I have been very impressed with Tyler Russell.
Oh, yes.
That kid, he's got some talent.
He's a new quarterback this year. I think the year in the offseason really got him going. And Mississippi State is deceiving because they play the type of offense that just gets a couple yards here and there, so they're going to be in a lot of close games. But they've shown that they really have a good team.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Mississippi State-Alabama game. I think that probably will be a matchup of undefeated teams at this point. So
It should be.
should be an excellent matchup. All right, let's move on to bad calls. There's always lots of bad calls to talk about on this show.
I think I'm going to take the worst call. Texas over Oklahoma. I feel bad because I have a feeling that maybe it was our predictions that led so many of our listeners to pick Texas. I'm sorry. That was awful. Texas got drubbed by Oklahoma, and it was not close at any point in the game. I don't think it was close when they kicked off.
Yeah, I mean, as Auburn fans, pretty rough right now, but Texas fans, they've been going through this for a couple of years, just a very visible downward slide. In contrast to what's going on at Auburn, up to this point, there hasn't been a whole lot of really loud talk calling for Mac Brown's job, but you're starting to hear a little bit more of that now.
Well, I've always thought that he is the most overpaid coach in all of college football, and he just has a lot of people who back him and think that he's a good coach. He hadn't really done a whole lot. I mean, he got to the national championship by riding Vince Young, much like Auburn rode Cam Newton, but outside of that, I mean, what has he done?
Yeah, and there's a lot of similarities between the Texas situation and the Auburn situation. After that game with Alabama in the national championship a few years ago, Mac Brown made the decision, much like Gene Chizik did, to switch to a pro-style offense.
Right.
And the results have been disastrous for both Auburn and Texas. There are teams making the pro-style offense work, and some of the most successful teams, like Alabama and LSU, are doing that. But other than the really successful teams, it's not working very well for anybody else.
You've got to have the line to do it, and it's weird that Texas can't get the offensive linemen, but it's not as weird that Auburn can't get them. It's a very competitive recruiting battle in the SEC, but Texas has kind of got a stranglehold on that talent, but they can't develop. At this point, you've got to look at the coaches and the development, and they're not getting it done.
There's no excuse for Texas to be this bad. I mean,
they have their own TV channel.
Yeah, Texas should be a top 5 team every single year, no questions asked. And the strange thing to me is how Texas, they may still be ranked. I'm not sure if they are. If they are, that's ridiculous. But Texas gets that kind of benefit of the doubt, and that's one of the reasons that they should be so good.
It's a Notre Dame situation where as long as they don't have too many bad losses, they'll always be in the top 25.
Right. So I had a bad call, of course, as I usually do. BYU, we thought that there was no question that Oregon State was going to lose after their quarterback, Sean Mannion, was out. Turns out they actually have a team of not just one quarterback, and the powerful motivator of In-N-Out Burger just keeps pushing them onward to victory. I don't know, being from the South, we don't have In-N-Out Burgers here. It's kind of similar to Chick-fil-A, I guess, but with hamburgers. I don't know if that's a way to describe it in terms of people from the West feel about In-N-Out Burger the way people from the Southeast feel about Chick-fil-A. I don't know if that's accurate. I've only been to one once. I didn't think it was that great. But the backstory is that Oregon State's coach, Mike Riley, promised the team that if they got a win over, I don't even remember who it was, like their second...
Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think it was Wisconsin. If they beat them, that he would take the whole team to In-N-Out Burger after the game. Basically like taking your Little League team out for pizza or something.
Ice cream, yeah.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter what level you're at. These guys, if you give them something free, they're going to play hard for you.
Unless it's a bowl game.
Yeah, bowl games, not so much. But that's why this week I am proposing the Auburn ice cream sandwich incentive.
I think it'd be a hit. I think it would really be successful.
Yeah, if they can win the game, everyone on the team gets an ice cream sandwich. Let's say if we win by 2 touchdowns, we'll get everybody drumsticks.
Okay, hey, I like that.
All right, up in the ante. We'll see if it works.
Isaac, you better listen to this.
Yeah,
it's solid.
You better listen to something. Do something different, at least. We'll talk about things that might be able to be done differently here on the other side. David and I are also going to have a conversation about the relative merits of the Auburn coaching position. Should it open? And, of course, Alabama's been playing football games, too, even though they've been winning them by huge margins. We're still going to talk about them. They got a big one coming up with Tennessee this weekend. We'll break that one down here on the other side of outputting our coverage.
It's time for SEC preview. SEC, Big 10, Big 12, 12 can't count. SEC, college football robber barons. SEC, yeah, they're big, they're fast, they're strong.
And Missouri and Texas A&M as well.
Yeah, SEC preview.
Here we go.
It's time for SEC preview.
All right, we are back for the SEC preview review. Let's go ahead and let's talk about Alabama first this week. I feel like we never do that.
Okay.
So Alabama playing Missouri in a Missouri twister. I guess you could call it a rain shower of the century.
Yeah, it was awful weather there.
It's about the most interesting thing I can find to talk about with this game.
21-0 early. I mean, before the first quarter ended, and it was 28-0 before they stopped play. And after that, Missouri mounted a little bit of an offensive, but I mean, it was after like a 25-minute rain delay. It didn't really count, and the game never really was close. So.
Yeah, about 30 to 35 Missouri fans remained after the rain delay
right.
in the stadium. Pretty typical win for Alabama this season. The running game carrying the day. Eddie Lacy, T.J. Yeldon again doing pretty much whatever they want behind that experienced offensive line.
I think you put anybody back there, they're gonna rack up the yards.
Yeah, definitely are. It was a season high offensive yards for Alabama against a Missouri team that not great, but not terrible either. So a pretty good offensive performance. Basically, the only positive for Missouri, they returned to kick off for a touchdown. So good for them there, I guess. But
Alabama's Achilles heel, it seems, in the last 2 or 3 years has always been special teams.
Yeah.
Between the extra point kicking, field goal kicking, or a couple years ago, the year they won their national championship, the kick return was awful.
Right.
They really had a problem with that, so that might be something to look at.
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder if eventually that becomes a problem, but when you're so dominant in the other 2 out of 3 phases of the game, you can get away with that.
You can, but against a team like LSU, who has a lot of speed and athleticism, typically in their kick return game, and the games are so close anyway, even if they don't score, if they just flip the field position with something like that, that could be big. So it's just something to look at.
Well, with LSU in the position it's in right now, they haven't exactly been a dominant team like we expected. Are you still expecting another matchup of the caliber that we saw last year between these two teams?
Not nearly what we saw last year, but I do think LSU coming back and beating South Carolina does kind of put them back on a higher level. If they had lost to South Carolina, they would be reeling at this point, and I wouldn't think they were that good a team, but the win against South Carolina was big. I think that'll get their confidence up. I still think it'll be a really good game. It'll definitely be hyped up. I know that.
Yeah, I feel like if it wasn't in Baton Rouge, it'd probably be a snoozer. But the fact that it's there, I think, could turn it into a decent matchup.
Yeah, those people are crazy.
They're pretty wild, pretty nuts. If you've never been to Baton Rouge,
don't ever go.
Bucket list, for sure. Put the last one on your bucket list because you'll probably die while you're there.
Most likely.
That's the way you want to do that one. Let's talk about the third Saturday of October. I believe that is this weekend. Yeah. And that's highly coincidental that it matches up with this game between Alabama and Tennessee. Like we said earlier, Tennessee, a team that just keeps underachieving, keeps shooting themselves in the foot. Any chance of an upset here in this one?
Maybe. I mean, Tennessee definitely has the big play ability. On offense, they've got a lot of firepower. Alabama's got a really good defense. I think they're going to pressure the quarterback in ways Tennessee hasn't seen this year. But I do think if they hold the pressure off, maybe get up early, and then can just hold on and play possession football, try to keep the ball away from Alabama, they've got a chance. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think Alabama's going to win this one with the same formula they've been using all season, stopping Tennessee's rushing game, which should be easier considering that their leading rusher, Rajon Neal, is going to be out for this game.
And the fact that they throw the ball 60 times a game.
Right, and like you said, I think they're going to be able to force Tyler Bray into some mistakes here. And then, Tennessee's defense, no great shakes, so Alabama just keep running that same balance formula that you've been using. And
I've got to say, I'm impressed with Alabama's offense to this point in the year. It's a completely different offense than the one they had last year.
Yeah, I think a lot of credit has to go to Nussmeier. He's done a good job of, like I said, creating some balance there. They're no longer just a power running team. They're pretty much doing it all right.
They are.
So, like I said, I don't see any chance of an upset here. I'm going to take Alabama in this one, say 38-10, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm going to take Alabama. I'd say something a little more low scoring, 28-7.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe you get to see a shot of the Tennessee Volunteer dog. Maybe that's a reason to tune into this one. I don't know. At this point, you could probably watch the first quarter, and you're going to know what's going to happen.
Unless you're a fan of seeing masses of people leaving really quickly.
Yes, and if so, you should probably pick up the Alabama season DVD collection because you're going to be seeing a lot of that this year. So,
or even the Auburn season collection.
No, that's the start of the game.
They've been emptying a lot of the stadiums.
Fans aren't even showing up anymore. We have to talk about Auburn, I guess. There's not a whole lot to say about what transpired. We both predicted it would happen. I was still angry when it happened. I don't know why, because I pretty much knew it was coming.
Now, did you watch it live?
I did not get to watch it live. I got to be careful what I say here because I went fishing instead of going to watch the game, which I think was a very smart decision, even though the fish were not biting, so I didn't catch anything, but still just not having to watch it was a good thing. My plan was to watch it when I got home. Through a series of mistakes, not maybe mistakes is the wrong word, unfortunate occurrences, it was deleted from the digital video recorder, so...
I won't ask any more questions.
Yeah, I watched the game Sunday night, we'll put it that way, and after reading everything that I had read Saturday night before I watched the game, I was expecting to see something just terrible.
Right.
And it wasn't all bad. Auburn, in the first half, was able to score 17 unanswered points. They had some semblance of an offensive rhythm going.
I thought Auburn probably looked the best they've looked all year.
They looked good. Clint Mosley looked very well. Trey Mason, like he has all season, doing a great job.
Keep handing that guy the rock.
But Auburn, once again, they just can't get out of their own way. The play calling, very suspect. You have Mason running very well, and then you throw in the Wildcat, and that's not working for you. So you get some good gains on first and second down with Trey Mason, and then you just throw it away on third down with stupid calls over and over.
And if you want to hear a really good breakdown of the game, remember you've got the blog, outputtingourcoverage.wordpress.com. Andy did a good review of this game. It's called What Now? ? So I think that's a pretty good summation of the game. I really thought Auburn looked good in this game. They just can't ever put 4 quarters together,
Nope.
It seems like, and that's what's really killing them.
Yeah, the problems are mental and coaching. And as I mentioned on the blog, I don't think Gene Chiswick's future is sealed yet.